Let's welcome everybody into the real Kyper and Bourne show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. I'm starting to get my pipes back a little bit.
You sound good.
Better.
You sound good.
Not all the way there yet, though.
No, you're not quite Celine Dion like usual.
Did she get snubbed by Taylor Swift, yes or no?
Oh, I didn't even see it. Was that a thing?
Yes.
I'm so glad I don't know what you're talking
No
about.
Grammys for you guys.
Background.
I played hockey on Sunday night, and I came home and I saw Miley Cyrus perform.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yes.
And I saw Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs perform. Loved it.
Off the charts.
But that's all I saw.
Off the charts moment.
Awesome.
Really great.
Tracy.
Yeah.
She rules.
She nailed it.
Yeah.
As far as the snub, apparently Taylor just went and grabbed the Grammy from Celine Dion, who was presenting.
Oh,
and she
in
grabbed
honor
it.
the great Celine?
She grabbed it like I was presenting it to her.
She was like, here, you peon.
Yeah,
Give me that.
yeah, scram beat it.
Yeah.
It's my moment now.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And she's about to announce her next album. Which I'm
Maybe
sure
we'll
some
give
people are
her
excited
the
about.
benefit of the doubt.
It's almost like Gary robbing away all the Canadian hockey teams. It's like it's Gary has Taylor Swift and Celine Dion as poor old Canada with no more teams.
So
Well,
sad.
we're glad everybody's on board for today's version of the Nick Kypreos show. Can you guys
Tell
just
us how you really feel about it.
go away, guys? I've got
God.
this all by myself.
Buddy, I'll take a day off. In fact, we do have one. this
Real Kyper and Bourne show. Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6, wherever you're watching or listening. We're glad you're with us, and you can always download us wherever you get your pod, or go to YouTube, where Sammy we're part of again.
I just found out that's where my mom takes in our show. She watches the YouTube daily show.
Awesome stuff.
I went to the YouTube
Shout out,
page. I went to the YouTube page yesterday to check out our show from yesterday, to grab a clip of me talking about Connor McDavid loving Toronto, to upload to my TikTok account that I'm trying to grab.
How many people did you piss off?
A lot.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. A lot of people watch our show on YouTube, boys. I was
that
surprised,
right?
like, oh, okay, I guess we're a popular show everywhere.
I know. I'm sorry that we're not in the chat like we used to be.
Yeah, that was fun. Those were the good old days.
So, for all of you that are watching on YouTube, we miss you and we love you. So there
Absolutely.
you go. All right, I got to admit, watching the Leafs last night against the New York Islanders, late in the third, Pierre Engvall scores, and the first person I think of is our Sammy.
Yeah. Who said on the show when discussing who to bet on Engvall scoring? Can I be the first to say having a Pierre Engvall tribute is embarrassing? Yeah. I know, not even a tribute, but just even acknowledging, welcome back, Pierre. Thank you for the 4 years. He wasn't in the army. He didn't devote his service. They paid him.
When did this happen?
I mean, Pierre Engvall's getting a shout out? Come on.
He's not the first average guy to play and leave.
No.
So when did this
He's not.
when did this happen?
I don't know. Justin Hall got one earlier this year.
Wait, this is the ultimate participation award.
You should have to show up on a list, a top 10 list. He's 10th in games played or penalty minutes, or have contributed in a significant way.
Like, are we at the point where the Leafs organization or any other organization feel like if we don't do it, someone's going to call us out?
Right.
On
They didn't give a Pierre Engvall. They didn't do a Dubas one.
To me,
No.
this makes the Dubas one look like not doing it all the more petty.
Yeah.
You're going to give Engvall one, but you're not going to give
So
Dubas
if we're going to do
one?
it on popularity, Engvall? Like, is it a liked thing? Like, this guy's Hall was kind of liked a bit?
I got to tell you, boys, I
We're
was
all liked.
Yeah,
well,
you're
with the
fine.
exception
You're
of Dubas.
okay. Yeah, right.
We're all liked.
I draw the absolute line at Pierre Engvall. That was absurd.
I am so offended they did it. I
Guys,
truly
drafted
can't believe
seventh,
it.
played like 200 games.
Yeah,
no
he had
big moments.
4 points in 17
Traded for a
playoffs
third.
games. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can honor a guy with 4 points in 17 playoffs games, you got to do it.
Oh, my God. Sorry to
No,
derail
it's,
the conversation.
It's absurd they did it. I'm sorry, Lise, but it's absurd.
Clearly, it juiced him up for the game-winning goal then.
There you
They're
go.
embarrassing themselves.
He was emotionally invested. He went to the blue paint where he found a hockey puck, which he doesn't do a lot.
snapped a 13-game goalless drought.
That's nice.
First point in 9.
That's nice.
So, you know my thoughts. They're very well documented on Pierre Engvall. I don't think anybody's coming here being surprised by that. Yeah. But that's, doing this show every day, like regular season, you get a little bit more disconnected in terms of like the passion and love. That one hurt a lot.
Watching Pierre Engvall get the game winner.
When that one slid underneath Ilya Samsonov, I legitimately looked away. Like, no, that wasn't 18. Was
but that.
Yesterday on our show, we did have an early conversation on coming out so quickly from the All-Star game and whether we're going to see rust or rest. What did you see last night, JB?
I thought the guys were pretty good. Even the stars that played over the All-Star weekend, I thought Marner had his legs. I thought, you saw some rest from Tavares and Nyes, which I actually predicted on yesterday's show. I thought they both looked really good. Matthews, Nylander, I thought the guys looked good, to be honest. They created a ton of chances. Sheldon Keefe's going to say in one of these clips that, that's a game we coulda, shoulda won sort of thing. And I agree. I outchanced the Islanders and should have won that game.
That would be clip number 1. Would you like to hear his concise thoughts on it?
I would love that. Thank you.
I
thought we played well enough to win, but did just enough to lose. And that's why you lose games.
All right.
Just enough to lose.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, that's been the show.
You replay that game 10 times, you probably win 9 of them.
Okay, I'm sorry. Was that a clip from last night?
Yes.
Because I've seen this scenario probably 5 or 6 times this year.
Yeah.
Winnable games that they find a way to lose.
Yeah.
And it was from last night, correct?
Yes.
It could have been from a number of losses this year.
And the theme to me is that when it's tight, I don't trust this team's defense goaltending combo. I just don't feel good about it. They have too many guys that make brain farts on their own end, and I don't trust the goaltending to come up with big saves. Last night was one of those things. They get in their own zone. It's just like, there it is.
And that's what kills you about the go-ahead goal, other than Engvall shooting it in the net.
Mm-hmm. It's
not like it was your fourth line caught out there against their top guys. It's
Riley,
it's one of your best lines caught out there. And we went over the goal multiple times watching before you come on here. Multiple breakdowns from some of your top guys. Riley and Brody, your top pair. And you don't trust them in that situation? It's like, boy.
It's just a very soft play.
What'd you see?
A very soft play.
All around, eh?
Listen, Brody continues to have trouble here. And I don't know if it's just he's lost that much of a step. But everything's a little slower for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not like, and as Sammy said, we watched the game-winning goal multiple times. I didn't like the fact that Brody went to Morgan, and Morgan was not in the best position to receive.
You think
the play.
Brody put him in a bad spot?
If Morgan would have got there quicker, if Morgan would have had his toes up the ice,
yeah.
He was actually facing the glass and had to kind of adjust to the point where he didn't have enough time.
This is on a D-to-D behind the net.
On a D-to-D behind. So did Brody make the right play and Morgan was just too slow or too lazy? I don't know which one of the two you want to say to get to that spot. Or did Brody put him in a position there that he just didn't have enough time to make the right play? Because Morgan is taking a lot of heat for that today.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure Brody put him in the best position.
So Brody doesn't put him in a great spot. Morgan doesn't do anything good with it. He tries to one-touch it up the wall to Willie, who, the pass gets picked off. And I believe it's Nelson who cuts underneath Willie and makes the seam pass for the one-timer there. But then Willie leaves. He leaves. He starts leaving the zone. After the shot, he's going to get a breakaway pass. 2 minutes left in 2-2 game, and he's not able to get back to the slot as the weak side wing for the one-timer that happens before Engvall taps it in the net. So you've got a soft play from Riley, Nylander rushing up the rink. I'd like to see Tavares lower. It's just a bad.
Well, you know how I felt about Willie blowing the zone for a long time now. Mm-hmm. And last night, I've stopped blaming Willie. Coach.
Yeah.
That is not Willie doing whatever Willie wants. That's Sheldon and his system.
Yeah. Oh, you think so? They do weak side, like push the pace or whatever, where the weak side winger will fly the zone. They try to chip it out. And so the idea being that even if you don't get the puck, it pushes the opposing D back and you've got more room underneath to make a breakout.
Willie's told to go.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the era where you don't leave the zone until the puck leaves the zone.
Same. Yeah. I know, Babcock used to do this too, where he wanted his weak side guys to go. But it's got to be situational. It can't be all game states.
You're right. And you have to have players intelligent enough to read the tea leaves here.
Like, we've turned the puck over. We are on defense. you
Yeah.
know?
So that bothered a lot of Leaf fans last night watching that game-winning goal that should have, at the very least, given the Leafs a point.
Yeah.
If not an excellent chance at 2.
And you mentioned it with the things like happening and the things that have happened over and talking about different games. It feels like the same game. There's 2. They win the game 3-2, and there's 2 really bad mistakes that lead to 2 of the goals, and they end up losing by 1. Yeah. It's hard. Not often that you can just come in and talk about the exact moments where you lose a hockey game.
So true.
But these mistakes, and at some point, you have to answer the questions of why these mistakes constantly happen. Is it personnel, which I'm definitely willing to have the conversation with, because, boys, that lineup last night looking pretty thin in the bottom half of the forward group, and we know about the defense. Is it coaching? Is it the systems? They just make way too many mistakes like this.
We've got a number of clips on this. We have the breakdowns that led to the goal, confidence in the D-core, and we have Sheldon on the one that you added late.
Play the clip 2, Keefe clip 2 on, so you can kind of get a tone of how he felt about that breakaway goal that gave him the lead.
This is the National Hockey League.
Keep that clip.
That's Pee-wee stuff. It's nothing to do with the season or anything like that. You play on the power play in the National Hockey League, they should not get behind you coming out of the penalty box.
The National Hockey League.
That's Pee-wee stuff.
Is he?
There's a drop. There's a drop, by the way.
I know, but it's a great soundbite for us, first of all,
big time.
and one we're going to keep for a very long time. Okay.
Yeah.
Already clipped by
clipped.
Derek Brandeo. But this is where I need somebody in the media to say, what was Pee-wee like? Was it Liljegren not knowing? Was it the goalie Samsonov not banging his stick? Remember that one when we were kids?
Of course I do. Of course.
Hey, someone's
did they
coming
stop
out.
doing that? I feel like that still happens.
Every rink plays like a sound now.
I didn't hear him slapping his stick.
I didn't either.
Yeah. I didn't hear him yelling at Liljegren, man coming out.
Yeah.
But Liljegren was completely out to lunch.
He's playing left D. There's 2D on the ice. You just came over the boards for the 1D that was on the ice. You're in the middle. You're not playing a side. And
that's Pee-wee stuff.
It was. And he was even creeping in aggressively. It was really bad. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you good with that? Because I want to get into now. Sammy mentioned it on his little checklist, his coaching.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. This was coming off a Simone Benoit fight, which I absolutely loved.
Love the hit attempt, the fight, the 4-on-4 goal.
I don't want to get too off topic on coaching, but Benoit was their best defenseman last night.
I was thinking on my drive in, I was like, I think he might be my favorite non-Riley D-man.
Well, Bunkus asked where he ranks in their popularity last night. At least talking I don't know, third?
Way high.
Yeah.
He was their best defenseman last night. So he ends up with a huge hit on Barzell that got the attention of Bo Horvat. You take Bo Horvat off the ice, win-win.
Oh, yeah. And you draw the instigator.
And you draw a penalty. So Marner gets the 4-on-4 goal, which was
beautiful.
All but 5 or 7 seconds off the draw.
Nasty shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a minute and 55 maybe of a full power play. and this is going back to what I've been saying before, is that the entitlement of Austin Matthews to think that he can take all 2 minutes up. There was a couple of opportunities off of a lame offside on your power play where they had no momentum, and there's about 53 seconds on the clock. Sheldon's going to leave his big boys out there. And now you go run the 50 seconds left. You got Morgan Riley and Marner off of a change with about 10 seconds to go. And Austin, who was the MVP hero during the weekend, wants to be the MVP hero on this last rush and turns the puck over. Like, come on.
Like, that's Pee-wee stuff.
That's Pee-wee stuff. Derek,
what a drop.
Great drop in.
The craziest
Monty.
part about the second power play unit is that it's not bad. It's good. They have good players that can have a proficient second unit.
Pull him off the ice with about 50 seconds to go.
A minute 7 is plenty of time. It's a long shift, in fact.
And the other thing, too, is Austin's tired. They're tired. They're dragging their tongues to gain the zone. Yeah. Matthews, you would never see that fresh legs coming off a shift, that lame turnover that led to the breakaway. Mm-hmm. But why are you putting him in a position to fail, Sheldon?
And he mentions it. So in the breakdown clip there, he talks about it, and he mentions, if you want to hear the clip.
I want to hear the clip.
Okay, we'll play that clip then. Clip number 7.
There's a number of breakdowns on the entire power play in general. So there's other pieces there. It's not just Lily. It's recognizing where to put the puck late in the power play. It's recognizing where you're at in your shift and all those types of things. I made a decision on that particular power play. It was at about a minute into the power play. I kept our top guys out there, and then it was our third face-off that we had, and third stoppage of play within the first minute. So I thought our guys had some energy to stay out there. All of a sudden, now you don't break out, and now you're getting in real late in your shift. So we didn't get in, and then we didn't manage it well from there. As a fresh defenseman coming on the ice, you have a responsibility for a guy coming out of the box to know that, and we didn't manage that well. But certainly there's things there that everybody has to own, including myself.
Okay, give him full credit for that last comment, including myself. It's a fantastic clip.
Well, I was like, right? We're talking about this. I'm like, you kind of dogged exactly about it.
Good, and I'd never heard that clip before, and I give him full credit for at least owning it, but right? He thought they had enough energy to stay on. He thought wrong.
The other lesson there is, what was the goal just before the All-Star game where he's yelling at them 2 effing minutes as they get scored on or whatever?
Yeah, the 2-on. It wasn't even a goal.
Was it against?
It was the 2-on-0 against the Jets.
That's
where
right.
Samsonov makes like 3 amazing saves, and then he benches them for...
And it's another end-of-shift Matthews turnover.
Yes, and he benches them for 2 power plays.
Yeah.
Now the second unit
so
just 10 seconds
have we
left
learned
in the
our
power
lesson on the long PP1 shifts here?
That to me is like, you can own up to it as much as you want, Kyper, like you said. But
stop doing it.
Yeah, like own up to it and be like, hey, I am the head coach of the hockey team. Yeah. Stop it.
No.
The biggest issue he may have, Sheldon, is that habits are hard to break.
Big time.
Like, this is not it's not something that just started. This has been going on for years.
Mm-hmm. We have a bunch of relevant things. There's more on the decor and on Liljegren as well, and on how often these guys are showing up. Any preference there, Sam? Haven't listened through those?
What do we just play? Do you care about? You want to play the Liljegren clip? It's a good snapshot of where he's at. We can go off the decor on that.
Well, the message is just stay with him. Well, he's a good player. He's played very well for us over his time here, and even last night into the game, there's a number of good things he did for us in the game. So it's just more embrace those things, focus on those things. He's a young guy. I thought he's taken big steps in his game, over the last year, and then coming into this year, there's an expectation all of a sudden. You're not just a young guy that's kind of finding his way. But for us, he's an established NHL player that's looking to take on more. And that hasn't gone as well as he would expect or we would have hoped. But doesn't mean that he's still not doing good things, capable of good things.
That's a crazy clip to me that he says that it hasn't gone as well as we would have hoped. You know, he's 175 games into his NHL career. It's his year, part of 4 or 5 here for Lily. What is he at this point?
They're hoping he's a top 4 guy. They've been treating him like a top 4 guy for the last year and a half.
What would you say?
Yeah. He's playing 1903 a night.
That's legit top 4 minutes here, and there's times when he's struggling. Do we go back to the high ankle sprain here? Even if he's lost 5 or 10% of where he normally would be skating wise, that could be enough to point the direction at he's not playing well.
Yeah, but Kip, if he's within 5 or 10% and it makes him ineffective, or not good, like, what is he at his best? He's okay. You know what I mean? Like, this is
Liljegren for me is on a very good contending team. He's a 4, 5, or 6. Like, he could step in and give you some key minutes.
Well,
but
that's what he is here.
Well, should be 5 or 6.
Yeah,
on a very
we've
good
had
team.
this problem. So fine, we've had this problem every year with Liljegren through the season. He had some really good stretches of play last year. Look at the analytics
at the start of seasons.
Yes, and you're like, oh, he's eating up his minutes, his third pair of minutes. He deserves more. He's doing great in these minutes. Check out his Corsi numbers, all his expected goals number. It's all really good. And then you get to playoffs, and you go, what is the situation where he goes on the ice? Because there has to be one. Is it power play, penalty kill, protecting a lead, chasing a lead? There's not really a place where it's like, that's a Lily moment. And then you get to the playoffs and he watches.
He's come out.
And it's no different right now for me. He's the same guy where he's not going to play in playoffs looking like this. So, I don't know. Do you do what you did with Sandin? You flip him for a pick for someone who wants him and turn that pick into someone who's a different role for you? I don't know, but
you can't weaken your blue line anymore. You can't trade Liljegren for a pick.
I mean, they traded Sandin for a first, and you can use that for and Gustafsson. That's probably not going to find a trade that nice.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I know what you're saying. You don't have enough legitimate NHL D, and he is one.
But I have definitely am kind of getting sick of doing the same thing every year. Yeah. Where it's like I'm supposed to be kind of excited, and he has a good start to the year. And this year's different, right? Because he gets a pretty bad injury, high ankles, tough to come back from. I understand that, but it just feels like it's Groundhog Day. That it starts off hot, and then we kind of go in the opposite direction. So
the other thing too is like he's always been prone to a very bad mistake.
Yeah,
he's known to toss him off.
I think he had a late giveaway too. Prior to that lame D-to-D off the Engvall goal, there was a pretty bad giveaway by him.
Yeah. I'm just searching my own name and Liljegren turnovers. I think I wrote an article on this, like in playoffs, like he's had some big moments where you're like, oh no, like that's the one we can't make against Florida, actually.
But if there is a guy if there's a team out there that wants to take a chance on him, and they'll give you back like a serviceable D-man of some kind that does a different thing, maybe you're not adding or subtracting, you're just kind of equal
just
sign.
Looking for something different.
To me, that's what Benoit is bringing. He's the only guy that he does something completely different than everybody else in the decor, and that's why he looks so good.
Yeah. The issue with that is, and we heard it in Sheldon Keefe's clip, he thinks he's way better than he's shown, and the problem to trade that is that the team that's going to potentially take him, they don't feel the same way.
Yeah.
So the balance of what you think you can get. Mm-hmm. And what the team's actually thinking that they get are like different planets.
It's just sitting here today that neither Sandin or Liljegren have turned into like a top 4 second pair. Really like this guy. Trust him on the second pair guy has hurt the Leafs a little bit.
Do we want to go into leaning on the top guys again? I mean, did we touch on that with the lengthy shift here? Did he say anything? that stood out for you?
Well, he was just breaking it down and talking about how hard they had to lean on him because of how much Barzal was playing and the other top guys were playing so much. But I just thought it was a bigger conversation just looking at the depth.
Yeah, okay, so let's have a quick listen to it, please.
Yeah. Number 3.
I had to lean on our top guys a lot here tonight, as they were doing on the other side. And the guys out of our lineup here tonight, and your depth takes a hit. And Barzal's playing a lot here tonight. And when he was out there, he was in control of things for the most part. But especially if there's times when I was trying to get a mismatch somewhere else with our guys, and if it wasn't Matthews against Barzal, the ice was tilted in the wrong direction. So we ended up having to lean on our guys a lot as a result of some of those top end guys.
Yeah,
but he leans on them every night.
he does.
So it's not just tonight. And
Barzal played 23 minutes.
23 minutes,
Yeah.
and no other forward played over 20 for the Islanders.
Barzal
Not
is
even close.
Not
even close.
No. Horvat almost had 20.
Did he? Where's Horvat?
19.
Yeah, you're right. 1941. The next highest isn't 17 minutes.
Your top 3 forwards were in the ballpark
Nelson
of 24, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a big swing.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you're
loved Barzal last night.
Then you're left with, once again, Domi at like 9 or 10 minutes, and
Yeah, 10:48.
it's just it always looks the same.
Yeah.
JB.
Yeah, little lopsided. No doubt about that. What did you think of Ilya Samsonov last night?
I think Sheldon's comments kind of run parallel with Samsonov, where he was good enough to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just good enough to lose.
Goaltending in a nutshell, right?
Yeah. I thought he battled hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think he didn't look very good early, but battled hard to give them a chance to come out of it with a point or two.
He, on the first goal, who was it that shot it? Barzal passed it to, forget who shot it. Somebody hammered it.
Yeah.
And it looked like I keep referencing Columbus, but I'll just say it, Columbus Sammy, where he goes flying across, puck hits the post. And I know he's trying to, but he's way out of the net, and Barzal just got to tap in, right? And you're like, oh boy, here we go.
Shoot the puck.
Pardon?
I can't remember.
One of the Strums, Holmstrom, Wallstrom.
Yeah. I thought, yeah. But anyways,
been, I don't know.
he hit it hard, slammed it by him, hits the post, but he's way out of position. You're like, oh, is it going to be a sliding night? Is it going to be a swimming night? And then he kind of gets it back. It just feels like there's portions of both guys in every game I watch of him. So he's been better. Go ahead.
Yeah. The chances last night, the Islanders, according to Sport Logic, they had 12 total chances, only 4 of which were grade A's. You give up 3 on that. That's about maybe what you would expect. But at the end of the day, the Leafs had 26 chances, 6 grade A's against the Islanders last night. And it just looked to me like their goalie just played better.
Yeah, you're the second best goalie.
You're the second best goalie by miles. I thought Sorokin was unbelievable last night. The chances the Leafs had in the final couple of minutes and throughout the bulk of the game, really tough to put it past that guy. And the Leafs have a goalie who is fine. He was fine, but it's not that tough compared to the best.
The
guys.
McLean goal and then the game winner.
Marchanded his knee again. Remember Marchand hurt him with the fake that same move?
Yeah. Sometimes when I see a goalie just ending up on his stomach, it just doesn't look like it was the right way to finish.
He throws him hard.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a guy who's plays in the NHL making a great breakaway deke, but he does bite. He's pretty susceptible to that pump fake for sure.
That first early one.
Yeah.
Frees his feet.
But I hate killing goalies on breakaways. They're NHLers on a breakaway.
You're right. You're not going to blame them there. But ozone possession time and all that, the Leafs had controlled every facet of play overall.
Good enough to once again go back to him tomorrow night against the Dallas Stars. For me, anyways.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
He didn't lose the opportunity. If we're trying to get him right as an organization, then sure. Go play Dallas now. The problem is, you've played Seattle, who's a toothless offense, Winnipeg, who was without their offensive players. The Islanders are a toothless offense, and Dallas is not.
This feels like it's gotten progressively harder as it's going on here.
Yeah.
And now we're heading into by far his stiffest test.
Yeah.
Dallas is very good. And they've been hot. They've won 3 in a row. They're plus 32 goal differential. They're a real team, second in the Central.
Goals for per
points.
game. It's Canucks, Colorado, Dallas in the NHL. They're ahead of Edmonton.
So the test will stiffen.
If the thought was on John Tavares that there's no Leaf player that needed a break longer, I think he showed better.
Oh, yeah.
For sure last night.
He looked really good. And Nyes, too. Both guys, I thought, were all over it, creating stuff. When Nyes is good, the good version of him turns pucks over. He hunts him on the forecheck. He creates for his line mates.
I don't know how much. Yeah, listen, the body going in there and opening up some lanes are creating.
And he turned one over. He hit Matthews in the slot.
I just still don't see enough creativity in his game to really add a layer to the big boys other than getting hard in on a forecheck. It's just not there, guys.
Asking too much of him. You've mentioned this from the start, and you've been on this from the start, but it's just like, dude, he's a kid at a college playing on the top line, and I push back against you on that, but it just feels like it's a pretty overwhelming role that he has to play for this team.
He's a power forward in the NHL who can probably score 30 in the league at some point, but he's not there yet.
I'm
dialing it back?
Well, I'm kind of dialing it back on the one day being a 30-goal scorer. Like, listen, I scored a lot of goals in junior hockey, and I suffered a couple of injuries that may have played a part on maybe slowing my game down. But college, NHL, junior, NHL, American Hockey League, NHL, man, oh man, that may be sometimes a shift for a guy that he never ever hits what was once projected. I'm not sure.
They should have traded him.
I'm not sure how smart of a goal scorer he is.
So I totally. And I'm not pushing back on that argument in the slightest bit. There are guys, Jimmy Vesey's a good example out of college, where you're like, oh, it's just not there for him. There's too much to me with Nyes' game. I like his skating.
I do too.
I really like his skating. I like his size. I like his shot. I like his ability to find it.
I'm not jumping off the bandwagon on this kid. I see it with you.
Yeah. So, I agree with you. I don't think that's going to happen to Nyes, but I do think that this season, he's probably best as your second line guy who you're not expecting for huge offensive contributions from. And then you have a game in the playoffs where he's great and he wins you one. And, that's about it.
We got a break?
Yeah, we got a break. I think he was on the ice for 3 of the Leafs overtime winners last year.
Yeah, he can do some good things.
Anyways, we should break.
Okay. Pay for some pay some bills with some commercials here. When we return, Mike Futa, Stanley Cup winning executive with the LA Kings, will join us. More Leaf talk on this edition of Real Kyper and Bourne after the break. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right, let's bring in a guy that knows something about building a championship team. He did it with the Los Angeles Kings. Executive. Were you executive of the year back then, Foots?
According to my mom, yes. I was executive of the year in the Ontario Hockey League, never in the National Hockey League. But Dean Lombardi was, so my boss was. Well deserved.
Well, you're still young, for sure. Hey, we're just talking, of course, about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a guy like Matthew Nyes has come out of college as one of the best players out of the NCAA. Lots of talk, lots of hype. And finds himself in pretty good situations playing with the best players on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And yet sometimes, you find yourself a little underwhelmed by him. But, for your eye, being an executive all these years, when do you determine when a player is what you think he might become? It's way too early to define what this guy's going to end up being. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a great point, Kyper. And he was, as I said, he was probably my best 2-3 live viewings I had ever had in college hockey. Like, you could just tell that the Leafs had hit a home run in the second round because they didn't have a lot of picks to play with. But my biggest concern with him was sometimes you see a power forward at the college level and you wonder if it's going to translate when the cage comes off, because he does play a physical game. And I agree with everything that Bourne had said too about his size, and everything about him reeks, pro and the kind of pro that you want. But I think it's just that consistency factor that you have to realize that the college schedule is all he's ever played. And I think even he admitted that he was just exhausted. And I think you know internally when you just can see it on a much more consistent basis. I know the first time we called up Tyler Toffoli, Daryl really grinded him out, and you could tell he wasn't ready. He went back down, and the next time we called him back up, you knew he wasn't going anywhere. All the little things that was asked to work on were now ironed out of his game now. And in Nyes' situation, I don't think he's really been given that time to go down to the minors and work on his game. He's just been thrust in with the big boys. So I think it's just going to take patience. But when you see that same consistency, and I think you said it last week, Kyper, if you could see that physicality, I know we fought once, see that a little bit more consistently, I think that's going to round out his game as well.
Futes, I think we have a hard time putting words to the idea of like these D-men who make the big mistake, who can be good or whatever, but just have these moments where they make the big glaring error that kills you. And I feel like the Leafs have some of those guys. They do, Jake McCabe, really good defenseman, but he has these moments, right? Even Morgan, who's the team's best D-man, has these moments. Liljegren has them. When you were with the Kings and you guys were winning cups, did you have some of that, those guys? Can you win in the playoffs with some guys that are going to have some brain farts?
Really, we didn't. I guess at times Willie Mitchell tried to do a little bit too much.
Yeah.
He'd be the only one, but he was so high level that I've heard his game that it didn't hurt. But it scares me, Bourne, that you just said there's multiples.
Oh, sure.
That's never a sign of good things on a championship blue line, and I don't think any of us here think that that's a championship blue line.
Right.
Again, I agree so much with what Kyper said about, you'd hope by now you see some of these teams that are churning out their own homegrown defensemen that you're just drooling over. Like somebody talking about Nemish, I think is the kid's name in New Jersey, and you see that it's been a factory of homegrown defensemen in Los Angeles. So the fact that the Leafs are still kind of at this stage of the game wondering what Liljegren is. And, they've moved on from Sandin. These are all the guys that we were expecting to, being here about as hometown guys that were top four guys, and they haven't really panned out.
We're talking to Mike Futa, executive with the LA Kings, won Stanley Cups there, does a terrific job on Sportsnet and our show. Futa, is the danger for scouts or GMs is to, like Sammy mentioned, do you move Liljegren for maybe a draft pick? We saw Sandin go, but is the danger that you move them too early? And the name Forsling in Florida,
oh, yeah, Carolina,
who's turned into an unbelievable player, but nobody thought of anything at the time when he was playing, earlier with Chicago. Turns out to be the stud. I mean, how does that feel as a general manager, a scout, when you see a team give up on a player only to see him be great somewhere else?
Well, I'll give you another one, and it's Los Angeles Kings. Richard Cernak, we took in the second round, and our guys really struggled with his development pattern. And the one thing that we learned with him was he's smiling all the time, and we thought he understood English. So he had no clue what we were saying. And they just thought that he wasn't prepared to do the work. And there was a huge gap and one day he woke up and we found out that he'd flown back home because his dad said he was really frustrated. And instead of kind of taking the time, it was one of those ones that we were so kind of upset at him leaving without talking to us that we should have done a hell of a lot more due diligence before we shipped him off. And he wasn't a throw into the deal because we always knew he was a good player. But he was a secondary piece in us picking up, somebody's going to help me out. We picked up the big goaltender for a stretch run who ended up, quick, he'd been hurt, and we brought him in, and his name escapes me, but we didn't make the playoffs. And Richard Cernak's got 2 more Stanley Cups. So yet to answer the question, Kyper, you got to be really careful about what you give up. And the other thing is, we, as scouts, you always love your own guys. Like, nobody leaves the draft thinking you did a crappy job. Like, it's like you fall in love with your own players, which is dangerous. The key is trying to find other teams to fall in love with them. And if you've got guys, if you're on a 500 or 600 team, and you've got guys that you can't fit into your own lineup and you're struggling, it's hard to convince other guys that they're going to be the answer for their team. So I think, in particular, when we talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, they stuck to their guns and never moved Matthew Nyes. Well, how many other guys in their farm system just are going to get teams excited to fill the holes that this team has? And that's something I don't know, but I'm not hearing a lot of, the kid over the World Juniors there that everybody was talking about at the beginning of the year didn't do himself any favors at the World Juniors, although I certainly wouldn't give up on him. But if you're going to give up something to get something, you got to be sure. You got to really be sure. And we definitely, Kyper, we talked earlier about the defenseman in Los Angeles. You got to be really sure what you move on from.
So you would have spent time interacting with Brad Treliving as a manager yourself. What do you expect his activity level to look like about 1 month away from the trade deadline here?
Exceptionally active.
Yeah.
Brad's a good friend. He's a tireless worker. He doesn't always call back. I know that he calls everybody else back. I just think he does what's right for his team. You saw, he had a tough situation there in Calgary, where he had to move on from Gaudreau for nothing, which is dangerous, and a lesson to be learned, even with the current Calgary staff that we talked about. And then obviously what he had to try and make the best out of what he was getting back for Tkachuk. Now you see what he's brought in Toronto. They haven't all panned out to the way he'd hoped. I mean, it's strange sometimes you move on from a guy like Michael Bunting, who did have good chemistry with that top line and is at a decent number. And now you're trying to find somebody with that kind of experience to fill that hole with the new guys, which they seem to considerably moving. But I would expect Brad to be on the phone constantly. I don't know if there's assets for him to make a huge move. I guess Samsonov, I know he's been playing a little bit better, so that might alleviate some goaltending concerns if he can get some consistency and Wall gets back. But they're going to have to add something to that blue line. And I don't know if they have the bullets to do it. Maybe it's just a guy and there's some teams, there's guys out there that aren't this big shiny thing, but maybe, I didn't mind Lubushkin and his stay with the Leafs as a kind of last pairing guy with a little bit of grit. He's probably going to be available from Anaheim. But there's got to be some movement out there, whether I can't see Calgary being easy for him to deal with. I don't think they want to get washed into deal with their ex-boss, and I'm sure their own Calgary's probably doubling the prices on a guy like a Tanev, but Brad will do his due diligence, and I think I'd be willing to give a little bit more for a defenseman like Tanev, not only because of the fit, but because of being local and the fact that it'd be a pretty easy signing for him to finish his career as a Toronto Maple Leaf, so he's not just a rental.
Your big goalie that you couldn't remember, Ben Bishop.
Thank you very much. That's how memorable it was. We didn't make the playoffs, no offense. And Benny was great, and it wasn't his fault. But I mean, we gave up I believe it was a first or second round pick in Richard Cernak, and we didn't make the playoffs. So that's when you better be looking up at a couple banners already, or you're going to be looking at an unemployment line when you pull a deal like that. Fortunately, we had some success, and that was a year we should have just backed away from the card table because we did have a couple cups, but we just, once you're on that roll, you just don't want to give up the push.
Foots, the majority of the teams that I know probably already had their professional scouting meetings, right, where they all gotten together. But what's it like coming out of an all-star break to the trade deadline in terms of the pressure on certain guys now?
It's a grind. Like, it's an absolute grind, and there's so many teams still in it. And you look at some teams that just didn't expect to be where they're at. And I mean, I think of a team obviously like the Kings, who I know it must be just killing Blakey to have to move on from Todd McClellan with the start that they had, because not only of their professional relationship, but their friendship. There's pressure there. And I mean, you're going to have to give up. And Blakey likes to do his work early. As I see quietly these teams that have done it, like you see Vancouver get some nice business done early, and then quietly Monahan gets done early. So these teams are going to have these guys not for only after, but they're going to have them for an extra month than these other guys. So you might have to give up a little more to get something done quickly. So it'll be fun to watch. But I mean, I look at a team like Pittsburgh with Gensel, right? Like, that's going to be, imagine telling Sidney Crosby the season he's having that they're moving his left winger. So it'll be a grind, that's for sure. But a lot of guys want to get their work done early, which usually results in having to overpay a little bit.
One more quickly, because we're running out of time here, Foots. But just you mentioned the coaching change in Los Angeles. If the Leafs continue to watch games where they're blowing points, is an option a coaching change here in Toronto as well to jolt the team if a big trade or any type of roster movement isn't available?
I think it's always on the table. I mean, not just in Toronto, but definitely in Toronto. And that's not, I know Sheldon very well, and I know, I mean, he's a guy, nobody is going to outwork him, but if the team consistently, like that game last night, I mean, it was great to come in and win with Justin Bieber coaching your team and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a big difference when you've got the Islanders who've been floundering a little bit. The difference between being 6 points away from you and 4 points away from you with a little bit of momentum is huge. So you can't have these nights where you're saying, you know, we relied on our top guys, but we weren't really, everybody's got to get on board. You're hearing the same press conferences with not excuses, but talking about the same problems that have been there for a few years. And I mean, unfortunately, again, in Los Angeles, there was a move made. The only thing I'd say is I'm not a big fan of the assistant coach moving up in any position. I think when I worked for Berube, but it doesn't always, especially when there's a completely different voice. So it will be interesting. In this case, that would be just like sliding like a Boucher over. If there's a change, I'd like to see it be a prominent guy, whether it's a Joel Canville and hopefully we're not even talking about, but it's somebody you know is going to make a difference. I always thought, and I mentioned this to you, Kyper, and I'm sure we're running out of time, but I thought in LA there might be a Patrick Roy might be an answer there because of the relationship he had with Blakey and the
that would have been interesting.
Well, the French connection there, that would have been interesting because Luke had played with him and Burge knows him as well. But you got to make sure you've got something you're comfortable, especially with the Leafs, with the pressure there is to win now. You better be sure what you're bringing in is going to make a difference. We talked about that at the goaltending position, but even more important, a change just to make a change would make no sense with this Leaf roster. They better be damn sure they're getting somebody. And that's why a Joel Campbell, to me, when you're talking about it, because now you're talking about a guy that's got multiple rings, been there, done that. That'd be a big one for sure. Hey, Foots, great stuff, man. Really appreciate your time as always, man.
Thanks, Foots.
Thanks, my friends. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sammy.
Wow.
See, Foots. Stat I put in the lineup today. Does this matter to you that the Leafs are 11, 10, and 2 at Scotiabank Arena?
I mean, it matters.
No, it's a bad stat.
It's not good.
It's a bad stat.
It's just no, it's true. It's not bad. I promise it actually is real.
Just someone sent me a stat on Matthew Nyes. 1 shot or less in 9 straight games. 5 shots. 0 shots in 14 games played. 1 or less in 34 of 46.
Not good.
Oh, that's bad.
How are you going to score if you don't shoot the puck?
How are you going to? I mean, you need to have it.
But listen, we could do this for everyone who's played in that top 6.
Yeah.
Tyler Bertuzzi. I mean, look at his output playing aside elite players too. It's been really
no good
for everyone in those spots. They don't have an answer. I was like, could they get Bunting back?
I think
I'm good.
Hyman?
Maybe just something simple for Sheldon is if Bieber lends him his jacket next game.
Oh, my God. Sheldon in Bieber's jacket would be hilarious. I would love to.
Kyper, you like that jacket? I never asked you yesterday. I feel like you could pull that one off.
I thought he absolutely looked ridiculous.
That was the point.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. Love the jacket. There's no scenario where I can wear it. There's not a scenario.
Does it not
but
come?
I like
Halloween.
Does it come?
I like
Does it not come in boys medium for him?
I think.
Like, what's with the triple X
Do we know
large?
the cost of that jacket?
No, he said who it was made by. Emily Kaplan interviewed him on the bench.
There's no chance.
And I forget.
Less than a $5,000 coat.
I was gonna say upwards.
Yeah.
Like probably in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. But,
I mean, not worth that.
No.
But some designer would have charged that.
If I can quickly.
Either
check.
way, loved the coat. If you're Justin Bieber, the only scenario it works perfectly is coaching an NHL All-Star game. Love it.
You're never going to drown if you get pushed overboard.
I just got $4,600 in my ear from Brandeo. Maybe he must have looked it up. It's impressive. That's
Canadian?
Well, I just Googled Bieber's jacket, and the first story that came up is GQ. Justin Bieber's gigantic coat was the talk of the All-Star game.
How
there
did
you go.
How did he get it through the tunnel? That's what I want to know.
He wore it on the plane on the way here.
Wow.
We have a lot of things to talk about still.
We do, including 8 games on tap tonight, 5 Canadian teams,
Let's go.
including the Oilers and Vegas.
My Knights. Let's go.
Sammy's Knights.
All right. Louie Debrusk, hockey analyst with Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada, and Edmonton Oiler on their regional games will join us next. Our thanks to Mike Futa. Plenty more on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Do not go away. We are back to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. This is our national edition. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Sammy McKee, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, Jen Rolnick. All on board for the next hour We're glad you are too.
Oh, sorry, pal.
Okay.
Frank Saravalli tweeting that there could be an answer this weekend regarding Arizona's future in the desert.
Well, I had heard all along that there was this kind of soft all-star weekend, get your crap together deadline.
And it sounds like the crap was almost together a week late, and they have congealed the crap, which really describes Arizona's situation.
A little
nicely.
too much cheese for them.
Apparently.
Commissioner Bettman was kind of drilled a little bit on the subject of Arizona, and we had Commissioner Deputy Bill Daly on our show Friday, and got the sense that they were given maybe another small window to maybe come back to them with something concrete.
Arizona's like trying to get them to pay back their bookie. They're just like, another week, man. Give me 1 week and I'll have the money for you. I'll have the rink for you, I swear.
Where's my money?
Yeah, it's coming. All right. So I know that Marty Walsh should be happy to hear any sort of update with the NHLPA.
God, I'm so hot. I'm so glad hockey's back.
Hockey's
After last
back,
week,
baby.
it's just
Yeah,
like
having
all
no
the Canadian
puck.
teams are playing again and guys making debuts, teams
Edmonton,
going for 17. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. Let's welcome in one of the best hockey voices out there. We happen to be lucky to have him on Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. Let's welcome in Louie Debrusk, he gets ready to call history tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Is it that simple, Louie? Edmonton's winning streak continues?
Well, we'll see. They're up against a tough opponent tonight. You know that, Kyper. But you know what? I think the rest was good. Talking to the guys this morning at the rink, I think.
Oh, no.
Frozen Louie.
He's a handsome
Have to
guy.
win those type of games throughout the season. Good team.
All right, listen, why don't we just...
And am I losing you a little bit?
yeah, we are. Maybe we'll get him on a phone call. What do you think?
Yeah.
That seemed like it wasn't going to be great.
All right.
Maybe he's on the hotel Wi-Fi. Maybe the Win hasn't paid their bill. I
The
don't know.
Win,
On his personal
MGM.
hotspot.
Here, I'll just get there.
So, I don't know, is Connor McDavid well rested? That guy worked his ass off on the weekend to put on a good show during the NHL All-Star
I don't know if Louis
weekend.
would tell me, but I was going to ask him, do you think those guys party at all? Like, just generally? Like, does Draisaitl, does he go out? They have, like, McDavid probably doesn't.
There's various degrees of
I know.
partying.
It's a vague question.
It's a vague question, and sometimes, there's some guys that drink, there's some guys that don't drink, and there's some guys that don't drink that can still stay up till 4 a.m. and hang with the boys and have laughs and so.
Well, that's kind of it. I'm asking a vague question that sounds like, do you do drugs? And I'm not asking that. It's like, I wonder with these guys, because it makes a difference, right? Your All-Star weekend, there's the potential to do whatever.
There is, but I can't see a friends and family weekend and with. We've all got.
I don't know. What do you think Beebs had in that coat? Who knows?
We've all got buddies on various teams, and I'm sure they did this weekend where nobody's going to bed at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. You're hanging.
Yeah.
To various degrees. What does that mean? Could be just having a coffee somewhere, which is highly unlikely.
It could be
but
that.
it could be.
In theory.
Maybe an espresso martini with some coffee in it.
A couple of beans at the bar. But
The one thing that you don't. Like, even a Connor McDavid, like, this guy just, his engine doesn't stop. And maybe we got Louie who can touch base on that. And we've reacquainted him on one of the lines here. Thanks, Louie. But just...
We've reconnected, boys. We've reconnected.
There you
Love
go.
it.
Just the fact, Louie, that Connor's engine may idle, but it never shuts down when it comes to 24/7. The only one that I think who maybe have set this tone is Sidney Crosby for me.
Yeah.
But that's why I feel like maybe this weekend may not have slowed him down coming into tonight.
No, I don't think so at all. And what I was trying to say earlier was I talked to a few of the guys in the room, and I think that the break was at the perfect time for the team. They were a team that was really fighting each game tooth and nail, which those are close games you have to win throughout the season, and you'll learn to play that way down the stretch and especially into the playoffs. They understand that. But to kind of heal up, get the body rested a little bit, this team has always played better rested, no question about it. And Connor McDavid leads that by example. I mean, this guy never really turns it off, it seems, but for him to go to his hometown, have the All-Star game, have his friends and family there, and just, enjoy that type of environment with the people that he's closest to, I think it was good for him, obviously Leon as well. And, these guys come back, they're refreshed. They did have a few days off, but it is tough on the Stars. I will say it. The one thing about the All-Star game is the Stars really don't get to turn it off completely, which is maybe a good thing for teams because they come back in and they've been on the ice a few times where the other guys come back from breaks and are kind of getting that rust off the first couple of days on the ice. But I don't think this will bother Connor at all in the team. And I think they understand what's at stake. They are playing a division rival. They're playing a team that beat them last year in the playoffs. They were very upset about that loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. They beat them once this year in a very hard-fought game. And Vegas isn't just going to allow it to happen. They're going to go out there and try and stop this streak. Like every team has tried building up to this. And it's a historical one, like you said at the start, Kyper, because if they win this one, they tie the record, which would be pretty outstanding.
So it's a hard thing to do to get people to break their preconceived notions about a team. For years, everyone thought the Leafs were kind of this like one-way, one-dimensional team. They were pretty good defensively last year. People didn't buy it so much. It takes time to change minds. The Edmonton Oilers have given up 2 or fewer goals in 14 straight games. Is this a really good defensive team?
They're a much, much better defensive team, no question about it. And I think they're totally fine with people thinking they're still just an offensive juggernaut because they walk in there and the way they play, especially in the third period, guys, the way they can close out a third period and just not allow you to have any life is incredible throughout this win streak. And I think it's a real strength of the team. They understand how to buckle it down. They understand how to close out a game, and they've learned hard lessons along the way, being a team that was very offensive but sometimes porous defensively. And they've really worked hard to shore that up, and I don't think they've been given enough credit for it, but I think they're okay with that. I think they're okay with people still thinking of that offensive juggernaut, which they still are. Let's face it. They have really talented players that can rack up the score. But if you look at the way they've won in this win streak, especially in the 8-game win streak before that, this team is playing a team brand of hockey. They're playing a disciplined, hardworking, very structured defensive game and looking for their opportunities the right way. Do they break open every once in a while and those old habits come back? Sure they do. But in the long run, they've been really good at kind of settling down and just playing with what's in front of them, making sure they're not giving up those high-risk, high-reward type of situations. And it's worked. They're finding ways to win. There's no question about it throughout this streak. They found ways to win games. Like I said earlier, maybe a couple they shouldn't have won, but they claw, scratch, and get the W. And that's just a team that's trying to work through it and make themselves the best they can possibly be.
We're talking to Louie Debrusk, hockey analyst with Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. Louie, during the streak, Skinner has a 1.41 goals against average, a save percentage of .950 in 12 games. Like, I know the jersey says it's the same guy, but is it really the same guy that started the season?
It's incredible. He has been outstanding, and it kind of crept up on us just with the fine performances that he was putting in. And there's been so much discussion here, guys. You guys know about the goaltending here in recent years, and just what are they going to do? Are they going to go out and get a goaltender? And the patient Ken Holland and this organization said, you know what, we're gonna live with this. We're gonna make a move. They've sent down Jack Campbell down to the American Hockey League, and from what I understand, he's playing very well down there right now. And Calvin Pickard came up, and what that did is that put the reins right in the hands of Stuart Skinner. It made him the number one guy. There was no question. There was no battle with whose net that was going to be. It was Stuart Skinner's, and it was a gamble, I think, by the Edmonton Oilers, but it paid off because what it allowed him to do was just focus himself as a starting goaltender. And I think with Jack coming in, and with Jack being a veteran guy, and Stuart Skinner's a very team-oriented guy, I think he kind of would sometimes take on some of that empathy for his teammate. I mean, obviously they were very close. And, when one guy's struggling, one guy's not, you feel for the other guy. You're always wanting that guy to do well. What this did was just allow him to concentrate on his game, and nothing against Jack Campbell. It's just for Stuart Skinner, what it seemed to do was just really narrow the focus down for him, and he's been great. Outstanding numbers. I mean, incredible. And in 11 of those 12 wins that he's had in a row, he's given up 2 or less goals against. I mean, it's a tear that he's on right now, and he's playing well behind a team that's playing well in front of them, and they go really well together. But I think what it is too also, guys, I think with the system and the way the team's playing right now, the one area that they've cleaned up so immensely and done so well is not the second and third opportunities. They're going to give you chances, and there's some really good chances that are against for the Edmonton Oilers, but they concentrate on letting the goaltender handle that shot, and they take care of everything else. And if you look at great teams around this league over the years, and, I mean, you could pick however many you want to, the great goaltenders that have played in this league, if you allow them to be that focused on one thing, and that one thing is stopping that shot, then they're great goaltenders. They are going to make that save more often than not. And if you take care of the business around them, which I think Stuart Skinner has the utmost confidence right now that his defensemen, his forwards coming back, his centermen back into the zone are going to take care of that for him. And all he's focusing on right now is the shot. And I've said this before, and we don't talk enough about this for goaltenders, but we always talk about players when they're struggling. They're trying to do too much. You know what? They're just trying to do too much, and they're thinking about too many things instead of narrowing the focus and playing their game. And it's the same for goaltenders. When a goaltender's thinking too much, quotation, they're worried about the rebound. They're worried about the guy off to the side of the net. They're worried. Right now, Stuart Skinner isn't worried about those players. He's worried about facing the shot wherever that shot comes from and making the save. And when a goaltender's allowed to do that, you see what happens.
Louie, whenever a new coach comes in, there's always a sort of a competition to win the guy's affection, show him you could be a good player, and inevitably some players get more opportunity and thrive under a new coach, but that usually comes at the cost of someone else. Do you have any winners and losers in the time on ice or opportunity battle since Knoblauch has taken over?
It's a good question, and I think that we just actually talked about this morning with our old colleague, I'll say, Cassie Campbell, who's here doing the game. We were talking about the fact that, I think Chris Knoblauch did a nice job of having a feel of the pulse of everybody on the team, and that goes from the top guys right down to the bottom. And he understands that the bottom six need to be more activated, more involved. He's done that. He's encouraged them to do more and given them a little more of an opportunity. The top guys, the same thing. He loaded up Draisaitl and McDavid at the right time, I thought, for the last couple of games before the break to get them kind of going. And like I said, there was a little fatigue there, and I think the grind of the schedule, the grind of the run, I think was starting to take a little bit of a toll, and I think he sensed that. So he loaded them up, and each of them had 6 and 7 points respectively in the last two games, so it got them bolstered. They'll be separated, it looks, for tonight. And back on their respective lines, which has worked so well for this Oilers team, having them apart, and the most that I've seen in my tenure with Draisaitl and McDavid on team. And I think it's necessary. You can always go back to that when you need to, but I think they've really done a great job, both Connor and Leon, just running their own line and doing their own thing. And, when the power play starts clicking, which it is, starting to get going again, it's starting to heat up, and it hasn't throughout this stretch. It hasn't been amazing. It's just been solid, but it's starting to get hot again, so look out that way. But I think that he really has a good pulse on that, and I think he just has done a good job at trying to get everybody involved. There's been a couple guys that have shuffled through the penalty kill, especially if you look at the start of the year. They used a lot of players in that penalty killing situation. So that's minutes that people were getting that they're not getting now because they've really condensed it down to a few pairings that are doing the penalty killing for the most part, and it's really improved the penalty killing, by the way. They're now sixth in the National Hockey League, which is, to me, one of the biggest changes they've made with Mark Stewart taking that over. I know Chris Knoblauch's talked about that and, handed those reins to him. And it's a collective group, but Mark's been the guy that's really taken it over and done a tremendous job there. And the guys have bought in, and the penalty kill, which was very porous at the start of the year and was giving up a lot of power play goals against, has really shut it down. So, yeah, I think that there's really no losers to this point. I would say Evander Kane maybe is the one guy that's been shuffled around a little bit. He's found a nice little home right now. I think his last few games have been solid. He's been dealing with a few things too, but when he's skating, he's hit. He's such a finisher when he plays that he only needs a couple of chances in the game to put one in the net, and that's what you're kind of relying on. But would be the one guy that isn't on the penalty kill anymore. He is trying to get him out there in situations after penalty kills and maybe load up with Connor and Leon the occasional time. So, he's trying to distribute that time around, and he's very aware, though. He's very aware of guys that are playing well, guys that aren't playing well, and kind of mixing and matching and trying to get the best out of everybody. I think that's why the guys have been very responsive to him, is that he feels what's going on, and he tries to make little tweaks along the way when he can.
two guys that took as much heat as anybody for the Edmonton Oilers early in the season was Evan Bouchard and Darnell Nurse. And the attention that blue line had back then was it was over the top in terms of you can't win with that blue line. And we know how they've turned their seasons around, but is the feeling that there still may be a guy or two away, or is this blue line actually good enough to be looked at as, we can still win?
It's pretty incredible because, this blue line more or less got them to the conference final 2 years ago, and then last year they lost to the Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. I look at it, and they've been healthy. That's the one key thing. They weren't healthy at the start of the year, and I think that really put them back. Especially Matthias Ekholm not having training camp. I mean, the entire training camp, he wasn't skating. He jumps in there, and he's logging minutes, and he's up against tough matchups. I think Darnell Nurse felt that. I think, as he always does, tries to do a little bit too much. We just talked about that with goaltending. I think Darnell's a guy that, he wears it. He wears it because he knows he's got a big role in this team. So when he's just playing his game, though, which I think he's playing the best he's ever played right now, I really do. I think he's just playing, and that's the most important thing. And I think Paul Coffey's had a ton to do with that. I really do. I think he came in and he lightened the load a little bit for the defensemen, and he said, "You guys, you're playing like you're waiting to make that mistake. Go out there and make plays. Go out there and do something with the puck." And I think they all felt like they were a foot taller, and it shows. They're a real tight group. The pairings have been concrete all year long. They've been absolutely stable. They've been healthy and able to keep them together, which is incredible. You don't see that too often in the National Hockey League, where you have, number one, no injuries in that regard, but also the fact you can keep your pairings together, which they've done. It's allowed them to develop that chemistry. I would tell you right now, if you went in there and asked every single one of those defensemen, "Hey, would you like to get somebody else different?" Not a chance. They love their defense partners. It's a real tight-knit group. But as a general manager, Ken Holland, Jeff Jackson, the management group of this team, if they can add to make the team better, of course they're going to look to do that. But as of right now, I don't know if they're really worried about it.
So what are they in for with the Vegas tonight in hopes of breaking an NHL record? This Golden Knights team won a couple of hockey games recently. What do you see out of Vegas?
Yeah, they're banged up a little bit right now. They've got some key players out of the lineup, and sometimes when that happens, guys step up and get opportunities they might not get and play a little bigger than they can play. And I think that's what they can expect from Vegas. It looks like William Karlsson's back in the mix tonight, which is a huge piece for the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, he's been so important right from day one of this organization. He's been one of my favorite players to watch. Just a real competitive 200-foot centerman that was suppressed before he got to Vegas and then broke out with 42 goals. And he's one of those guys you can put in any situation and up against anybody, so it'll be good that they have him back. This will be a tough team. This is a defensive-minded team. No question about it. It's a veteran team. They know how to play. They know how to shut down. They know how to grind. And quite frankly, the team that Edmonton's trying to become. It's a team that beat them in the playoffs last year. They understand that. It was the Avalanche that beat them the year before. They understand that. And they've tried to morph their game into a combination of both Colorado and Vegas. And they've done a pretty nice job of that in this 16-game win streak, I would tell you that. But this will be a good game. This won't be an easy one. I know the guys in the room are fired up for this one. They understand what's at stake. They're excited to be back in the mix and back together playing hockey again after some time off. But I think the Vegas Golden Knights will be doing the same thing and looking to try and take that streak right out of their hands, and it's going to be a good one.
Oh, I get the feeling like this will have a playoff atmosphere here, especially when we can go back to Pietrangelo and Draisaitl going at it again.
Yes,
and
buddy.
Listen, they want to shut them down. They don't want the record against the Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing: they know they have to go through each other. This is, when you look at it, I mean, let's face it, in order to achieve what you want to achieve in this league for both of these teams, they know that they're most likely going to have to go through one another in the playoffs. It's just it can line up that way, and it certainly could happen a different way. But and these are those games right now that are a prelude to that. There will be extra intensity. Anytime you play someone in the playoffs, it brings that animosity and that venom that carries over into the next year. And I expect a lot of that tonight. it's going to be a good game. I think both teams will be rested. Both teams will be ready, and should be a good one.
The Edmonton Oilers taking a 16-game winning streak into Vegas tonight. Louie Debrusk, enjoy the game. We'll look forward to hearing your voice tonight, pal.
Sounds good, boys. Thanks. Sorry
Thanks,
about
Louie.
that little network connection problem there.
Oh, it's all good. All good, buddy. Thank you.
He's not that good looking anyways.
Oh.
We don't need him on Zoom.
Oh, that's rude.
Had him on the glitchy personal hotspot
Yeah.
there. All good.
He was-
Hear him.
Louie's very handsome.
He was trying his best, like I said, on the Win Wi-Fi. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to check on their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, next time I go, I'll check in with you.
All right.
This is as excited for a out-of-market hockey game as I've been in a really long time.
Really?
Yeah,
I do seem pumped.
I got to
about
tell you, man, having gone to a game in Vegas and seeing how much they actually care and how good their fan base is completely changed my perspective on them. And I like them.
Yeah.
Like, I really resented them and I hated them because it's like, oh, they've been in the league 6 years and they win a cup, and my dad was 10 when the Leafs won the last one, and I had all this resentment towards them. But I loved it there, and I loved
Having a good time.
I loved everything about it.
And tonight they're rolling out, excuse me, Jonas Rondberg, Paul Cotter. Let's see who else
buddy,
we
don't
got.
sleep on Paul
Caden
Cotter.
Korzak.
He's got the hands.
Cotter's good.
He's got the hands.
They got a lot of guys subbing in tonight, so we'll see if they can put up a good fight against UIL.
And the perception out there that Connor could have now a 35, 40 goal season and enjoy one of the best years in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of love spread out now on that roster.
For sure. And you looked up and down their roster and look even at their decor, and it's like Bouchard has taken that step they were waiting for him to take, and they got some comfort out of Ekholm, and they're pretty solid.
And they're
Also, Corey Perry doesn't hurt on the back end. When you're talking, they're bottom six.
They've got to kind of win now too, right? Based on, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bouchard need a new contract after next season because his number is gonna be an issue.
Yeah, it could be a double digit, right? Like it's high.
Ooh,
Double digit.
well,
I mean,
Guys,
he's a 70-point guy.
hey, listen, I'm all for driving up the prices of other Canadian stars. Like, it never happens like it does here in
100%.
Toronto, but double
We
digit.
get accused every once in a while of driving the price up, and it's like
Only in
we're
Toronto.
just
Let's do
we're
it
just
everywhere
the
else.
messenger.
Hey,
Bud, Evan Bouchard is a point per game player
Yes.
at 24 years old who's 6'3" and 195 pounds. He's going to be an 80, 90 point defenseman.
and shoots
What's
the
that
puck
cost?
90 plus miles an hour just for fun.
More than any other defenseman in the league. He hits at 90 plus miles per hour.
43 points is his career high, which he got.
Yeah, because
this
he's
year.
10 years old.
I'm just saying, double digits is high.
What is his?
Darnell
what
makes
is
9.5 for what?
Yeah, and I guess in the caps going up, you're right.
what is
Sorry.
his contract status?
And for the record, it might
Who's
be
the
8 or 9
who's the
million.
double
The
digits
point is
guy?
He did
it's
get
a-
the bridge deal, did he?
Yeah, which is going to cost them. All right, it's up in 25-26.
Oh.
So he's got this season and next.
Yeah.
1 year after this at 3.9. And then after that, they're going to have to pay him. They're going to have to pay him $10 million.
but
$6 million
he's-
more than that.
He's eligible to sign July 1st with just 1 year left. Is he not?
Nah, don't look at me. You're the cap guy.
Yeah. So we're in 23, 24, 24, 25.
Going into next season, yeah, you're right.
25. Does he have 25, 26 on the board?
No.
Okay. So he's eligible to sign July 1st. Once again, you want to burn into UFA numbers. I think you're closer to double digits than he is at 7.
Yeah. He's not going to
We'll
be
see where the
cheap.
numbers end up.
Game time?
Game time. Anything to do with?
I got lots to do with all the Canadian teams.
Okay, go ahead.
When are we getting the Taylor Swift Super Bowl props? Are those
That's
coming?
I'm cooking up a few for Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 18 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. I did get an early lean from Kyper today on the Super Bowl. I asked him who he was like, and he gave me somebody. I won't spoil it, but gave me an early lean, which I was a little bit surprised by.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got 3 separate same game parlays tonight for 3 of the Canadian teams.
Okay.
You know I love my Golden Knights, so they are plus 130 underdogs tonight. I know that's
They got
because
players.
I know, but they got pedigree and they're the Stanley Cup champions, and they're gritty, and they don't want to let the Edmonton Oilers get the record in their building.
The great Jonathan Marchessault.
He has 11 goals in 21 career games against the Edmonton Oilers, 19 points in those 21 games. So give me a Vegas money line, Jonathan Marchessault to score a goal.
That's going to pay.
And an Ivan Barbashev point, and he's got, I think, 11 in his last 6. It pays plus 625.
Ooh.
So if you think that Vegas is going to upset them, Marchessault and Ivan Barbashev are both going to have a hand in it. So there's my first one for you.
Do they play together per chance? Because that's always a nice way to bet it too. A couple of guys who play together both getting points.
And no one from Vegas played in the All-Star game.
No, they're fresh.
They were you say the only team?
I don't know. Did Chicago have somebody play for Bedard?
Dickinson?
I thought he was supposed to, but I don't know.
I don't think he ended up going either. Maybe I don't remember anybody from Chicago. But then again,
listen, the sun was out Saturday afternoon, boys. I wasn't watching.
I didn't pay that close attention.
Are we far enough removed, or we can say we didn't watch that?
Sunday, the sun was out,
but I had a great time.
Watched the hell out of the skill.
Oh yeah.
And I enjoyed watching people enjoy it.
Yes.
The second one I have for you, longer shot. Flames going into Boston. Flames money line and a Kuzmenko goal in his debut pays plus 600. So 2 little things that have to happen there. And this is the longest shot that I have for you. Plus 1,200. A Vancouver Canuck win, who are pretty big underdogs tonight in Carolina. A Elias Lindholm debut goal and a Mikheyev point, because he's moved on to that line, is plus 1,200.
I don't hate
First,
that at all.
We have Pierre Engvall scoring the game winner against the Leafs last night.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking about Mikheyev on the number 1 line.
Top line, Mikheyev.
Right?
I sure don't want to replace him with Lafferty. Okay. Anyways, that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So,
Mikheyev's a good player.
It's fine.
No, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Talk had some comments about him just like going in on the forecheck, and that's what he should do. He should go get the hockey puck.
He's very fast and heavy.
So fast.
And heavy.
Big.
And rangy. He's good on the forecheck.
And they're just those type of guys, even though they're not physical, they're like almost accidentally good.
I would agree
right?
with that.
Beats the puck to a square, though.
It doesn't.
Here's talking on Mikheyev. I've got to see some forechecking from him. I've got to see him winning some battles, and I think coming up with loose pucks. I want to see him drive play, especially as a top forechecker for us. So he's all about this. He can hang on the puck and make plays. This is a test for Mick. I got to see some good stuff from him. It's there. He can do it.
Oh, now with Kuzmenko out, a little piece of advice for you there. Don't turn yourself into the whipping boy.
Yeah.
The next
No,
whipping boy.
you're right. This is 100%. Big games for him.
I think there's a little warning here for him.
Hearing those comments, maybe win a couple pucks.
I got rid of this guy. I got rid of you too.
Did I already read the end? I've just pulled a Kyper. Did I read the other part of Game Time?
Best part is I have
you
no
closed
idea.
it off.
Did I? Okay, good.
You closed it off.
I just pulled a Kyper. I spaced there.
Edmonton still remains like the favorite now to win the Stanley Cup. Correct?
Do you want me to check that?
Well,
right now?
you told us that last week.
Oilers
nothing
what would have changed?
Nothing changed.
I'm sure they watched the Leafs last night and they're like, actually,
the Oilers could still win the Pacific. I don't think. I'm not even.
How many games?
They will.
How many games?
They might.
In hand do they have on Vegas?
They have 5 games on Vegas and 4 on Vancouver, and they're 12 points back of Vancouver. So 4 games, 8 potential points.
So not to do a bonus content here, but I was just looking for the Stanley Cup favorite. The country of the Stanley Cup winner is available. So minus 330 for the USA, plus 240 for Canada. So you're getting quite a few pretty good
4
teams.
of the 16 teams.
But some good ones.
Good teams, yeah.
So not a bad little one there for you. Anyways, that was a little bonus action.
3 good Canadian teams and the Leafs.
Stranger things have happened, I guess. Maybe not the least. Anyways, let's hit a break. Talk about team
jokes.
All right. When we return, our good buddy Justin Bourne wrote an article on Sportsnet.ca with the projections of Team Canada's 2025 Four Nations Face-Off. Is that the official name of the tournament?
In which I openly tried to antagonize you.
Yes. And I will remind you what's wrong with your pick after this break. Welcome back into the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Just before the break, we were mentioning our good buddy JB jumping all over the Four Nations Face off.
Buddy, this
Okay,
is
first
the
of all,
lowest hanging content fruit on earth.
There's already a tournament, Four Nations, is there not?
Yes, the women had a Four Nations Cup.
They did?
Or maybe they still have it.
No, we don't hear you.
I mean, I'm in the room with you and I can hear you, but
I don't think. Oh, there we go. And there's a lacrosse one too, right? Four Nations.
Come on, let's come up with something more original.
There's Four Nations. They're facing off.
I'd rather call it the tournament with no name.
Okay. Yeah, well, for now, we'll come up with our own name for it. Okay.
For now, Four Nations tournament.
All right. Everyone gets to yell at Bourne time. Who's up for it?
So, hold on. Is this a real thing where people are actually talking about this, or is this just Sammy being overly nerdy right now?
Kip, the Four Nations face-off is not in 4 years. It's in 11 months and 2 weeks. It's coming up. This is
fast.
Yeah. This is happening.
To me,
okay.
I think,
good point.
I do think there are a lot of people that kind of feel like you, Kyper, which is like, it's only the 4 best teams, but at the same time, we haven't seen this in a very long time.
It's just like, what's it look like? It's fun to see it. What's it look like?
We haven't had a chance to have these discussions since they played their weird World Cup.
In my article, I note that the U.S. are choosing a starting goaltender between Jake Ottinger, Jeremy Swayman, Connor Hellebuck, and Thatcher Demko. Is that good?
And may I remind you, one gets to play.
You're right. Have as many as you like. You can only put one in.
Okay, we'll get to that.
All right.
Where do you want to start with your lineup?
Do you want to just address the elephant in the room? I can read them and then I can tell you why Mitch Marner's not in my 12.
Yes.
Go. I'm not sure if I'll be quiet throughout the whole thing, but I'll try.
My forward lines are Hyman, McDavid, Bedard, Point, McKinnon, Barzal, Marchand, Crosby, Marchessault, Reinhart, Cirelli, Stone.
Marchessault.
Yes.
Over Marner.
So I'll start there. The Marchessault over Marner. Jonathan Marchessault won the Conn Smythe Trophy 7 months ago as the best player in the clutchiest Stanley Cup playoff moments. He is on pace for 41 goals.
He plays for my Knights. I'm aware.
Yes. Yes, I know. Mitch Marner hasn't had the postseason performances of Jonathan Marchessault. This is a short, big game tournament. Marchessault has proven it.
God, that is such a person that would be picking this team's rationale.
But you're not
and then he wouldn't have the puck.
You're not even in the ballpark with Mitch Marner. You're not even like I don't know what league you're in now, because Marchessault is not the guy that's taking Mitch Marner's spot. It's your boy in the island, Barzal.
Yeah.
You got Barzal with McKinnon and Point. That's Marner's spot.
Yeah. And I am here for that argument. Here's why. And I know you didn't read the article. Sam only has the lineup in here, so I will explain my logic for that, which I wrote in the article. That's the fastest line you can make on the planet.
But
Braden Point, Nathan McKinnon, Matt Barzal is the McKinnon is literally the fastest guy in the league, in terms of speed burst. Point is second, and then Barzal is just behind McDavid. So the opportunity to put 3 guys on there that skate like Lamborghinis, how do you defend that?
Strong case. Strong case.
That's all I got.
All right. So
I have one other thing.
Barzal will get there faster in the wrong spot.
The other argument there is that Barzal, to your point that you made, I think yesterday,
can't score.
Who's he ever been passing the puck to? This year Marner's on pace for 92 points and he's on pace for 82. Barzal doesn't have a guy, has never had a guy who could put the puck away.
So because he's never had a guy, we're just going to assume he can be the guy when he gets the guys.
I'm assuming
that's your
it's
logic.
Worth a few assists. If we're going to look at their stats, because other than stats, I don't know what Marner's case would be.
Well, stats is a big thing.
For sure. And I'll say he's played with Matthews, so I'm going to take a few assists away. And this guy's played with Bo Horvat as his best guy ever. I'm going to give him a couple there.
A couple. So in the last 4 years, Mitch Marner has been the top 5 scorer in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Barzal has been where?
He's skating around with Pierre Engvall. That's what he's been doing.
What place is he in the last 4 years?
I'm not making an all-star team of the last 5 years.
Can I tell you?
400th?
60.
Great.
So I'm not taking the 60th score and throwing him on a top line because
He's fast?
he's been flying with a bunch of seagulls.
Yeah. No, to me, this is not an award for the guy who's had the best 5 years.
You're guessing that
totally guessing.
Yes.
Totally guessing. Which
Yes,
is
this is
exactly what everyone's going to be doing.
Okay. All right.
And
I don't
think-
see the logic on Barzal
Yeah.
in that spot. That's all. I
can-
get it. He played a good game last night.
Good hockey match. But listen.
You've lived in the island. I get it.
And I also, part of this is like, this is going to get Kip going. There's a little part of me making this lineup
Yes.
today like this is going to be a
I
conversation.
like Marchessault, who's on pace for 37, 40 goals this year, which
Yeah.
He's a great player.
remarkable considering that, he hit the high note with the Conn Smythe. No problem there. Like Stone, like Cirelli. Sam Reinhart, for me, may start with McDavid and Hyman. And I push Bedard down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not giving Bedard number one status.
No, not even the
Kip's
line.
making a good point.
The fact that, Sam Reinhart's good.
Sam Reinhart's on pace for 62.
Yeah, I know, but every shot he takes goes in.
Okay,
right.
well, first of all, his greatest strength is power play. He leads by a country mile on the power play. Is Sam Reinhart on your 1 or 2 power play?
Doesn't look like it. Probably not. I don't know.
If he's not, then I don't know whether or not he's going to be okay for you in the bottom 6.
Yep.
Reinhart needs to play in the top 6 right now, and he needs to prove that he is a legitimate number 1 guy on a power play, which he has all season long. Therefore, you move Bedard down, and you see how the tournament goes, and you can always move Bedard up.
Yeah.
But you don't want to move him down halfway through the tournament.
It is interesting. The Bedard one, I'm really torn on because he's on pace for, he's going to get 30 or would have been 30-some goals this year at his current pace. Next year, I got to believe he's a 40-plus goal scorer. And I just think he's just doing this, right? Like we have the next guy here. If you play him with a guy like McDavid, do they really find this chemistry? And all of a sudden, Canada has them for the Olympics the year after and 4 years after that. Like you have a duo. But I know he plays center, but.
Who's going to be picking this team?
Do we know GMs yet or anything yet?
Like, what's that general manager's sensibilities in terms of giving a kid a chance or like rewarding a veteran or whatever? It just feels like a lot for Bedard.
I got to think behind the scenes. This is been a heavy discussion because, like you said, we're on the clock 11 months, and you got to put together a team that's going to lead into the Olympics because this is your
warm up.
It's your tryout.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of how it feels, right? It kind of feels like this tournament is going to be a what are we going to do for Olympics sort of thing, which when you get to the goaltending is, what's...
Can I just say that how much it absolutely burns me that Zach Hyman is a lock for any best on best.
Lock on everyone's best on best.
It keeps me up at night. Like, I just can't believe. Of all the guys Dubas let walk.
But you couldn't get him on the All-Star team.
Yeah. Well, they already had 2 guys. It's enough.
Well, Vancouver and Toronto sent 11 each.
Yeah. Anyways, it burns me. Sorry.
Oh, that's fair.
Had to get in there with that.
It is one of the best stories in a very, very long time that, his trajectory in terms of
just work.
So
getting better and better.
In net, I've got Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill, Connor Ingram, Tristan Jarry, Sam Montembeault, Stuart Skinner, whoever's playing hottest the week before the tournament.
Yes.
Any of you have a good week. You're the starting goalie.
It is remarkable to see just in terms of not seeing a huge name there.
I think it might be Connor Ingram. Connor Ingram and Aiden Hill.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel. I know.
Okay.
He says he's a $9.15 this year. He's been good everywhere he's played. He just signed a 3-year deal. He's pretty legit.
Luckily for those goalies, the other team won't have the puck, so they'll be fine.
That's true.
What are the odds of 1 or 2 clearing waivers between now and then?
Well, it's really funny. You're not wrong. The Stu Skinner one is a funny thing. Stu Skinner, people are like, yeah, don't you have him as the guy? He was barely in the league 2 months ago.
We had conversations on Campbell or Skinner, who gets sent to the minors.
Right. And now it's like he's going to start for Team Canada in some people's minds.
Can I ask you about Morgan Riley?
Yes.
I love Morgan Riley. I do. I really think he is a great Leaf, and he's a great leader, and he's a good player, and he's been awesome for the Leafs this year. I don't know.
Shea Theodore there instead?
For sure. Biggest games against the best competition. I hate slagging on Morgan Rielly because I love what he does to the Leafs, but it's just, I'm just not sure.
Hey, got to be able to have the conversation.
Yeah. I'm just not sure.
There's no harm in talking about it.
I think if Morgan can have a similar type of playoff run as he did in the first round and carry it over to a second, maybe even a third, then he's certainly in the conversation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But there hasn't been enough sample sizes, I think, for him right now to be thought of other than a consideration.
Leafs D. Team Canada's D is very much like how have guys played between then and now.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pairs as Taves, Makar, who won a Stanley Cup as a top pair. Morrissey and Pietrangelo, Morgan Rielly and Aaron Ekblad. I like them together. Riley's better with a guy like that.
Mm-hmm.
Doughty, Noah Dobson,
Shea
Theodore.
I've got Noah Dobson ahead of Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah.
Yep.
You like him, eh?
Yeah. He looked good last. I think he'll be, in another year.
Yeah.
At the time they make the team,
I
bet he's there. But I will say, having looked at this, and, there's a lot of conversation about how much better USA is, and, rightfully so, they've really improved. And I'm really not terrified, but the D-core is not what it used to be.
No, it's not. When we had Shea Weber and Duncan Keith, and you had the
Niedermeyer
best in the league.
Yes.
Chris Pronger.
Yeah.
It felt different for sure.
To me, this is, though, like Cale Makar's team.
Makar's that.
Right?
Yeah. But the thing is, it depends. We talked about the 2018 case a lot yesterday. That plays into this. I know this is an NHL event, so they'll have to make the decision on it with how. So I'm assuming he'll play.
It doesn't play into it a ton. Daly corrected Bettman. He was like, that's actually our decision if they're eligible or not.
So just putting that out there. But, he is the most important guy by far, and he'll play by far the most. And having the guy that he plays with on his top pair, it's nice. But what about those guys in the aisle? Pelech, yeah.
Pelech was the guy that came up for the Olympics.
Yeah.
He hasn't been as good, and he's been hurt since. So we'll see if he can refine that form.
Yeah.
I should mention also some names I didn't say: Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Mark Scheifele, Steven Stamkos.
They're all in the mix.
All in the mix. And whether you like Marner or Barzal, that's a pretty good 12.
Not bad. Yeah, I think you're in the ballpark.
Oh no, his picks aren't bad. I'm like, yeah, we're pretty good still. We're okay.
Cirelli got some heat actually. I just feel like you need some guys to throw out to protect a lead and kill penalties and do those things, right?
Yep, 100%.
Oh,
you gotta have some guys like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, he'd be a perfect 3-4.
Maybe you could even put Hyman with Cirelli and Stone. And then have Bedard and McDavid or whoever play with Bedard, McDavid. Hilarious to say on the line. But, have a more offensive loaded top line.
I have to say, I could cry. I'm so happy we're talking about this.
I know.
It's been a long time coming, boys.
Can't wait to see it.
Been a long time coming.
So are you going to do the U.S. or we don't care?
The other writers on Sportsnet have done that. I got to do Canada, which was a great privilege.
Oh, you did?
Thank you to the editors for giving me that chance.
So,
okay, is that out now or?
I don't know, but I know it's coming out. If it's not today,
okay, we look forward to it on sportsnet.ca.
So, Matthews, Kachuk.
Matthews, Kachuk. Wow, that's a line.
Kachuk.
Yeah, they got some.
Oh, did you bail on? Oh no. Okay. All right.
You had a name in mind?
Yeah. I drew a blank on countries.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
But don't sleep on
nice.
Finland either. Finland.
Who they got in net now? Saros, is he? What's he?
That's a good question. But they you think of the guys that they have.
What's he?
Barkov, Rantanen. You think about the guys that they can put out there. They're not hurting either. So it's gonna be a good tournament, boys. Anyways.
All right, good job, JB.
Yeah, well done.
Thanks.
All right, Winnipeg and Pittsburgh tonight. Sean Monahan expected to make his debut with the Winnipeg Jets. Didn't practice or didn't take part in the morning skate, but all indications from Bonus is that he's in.
Well, that's exciting. When I wrote about the Jets recently, I heard from a lot of their fans who basically said their number one need is just a second line center. So I don't know if Monahan can be that, but He'll be given the opportunity to. Speaking of opportunities, Kuzmenko joins Calgary Flames and is getting paired with Jonathan Huberdeau and Yegor Sharangovich.
Against the Boston Bruins. Maybe you want to try that against Anaheim or something?
Kuznetsov, Huberdeau,
No?
Sharangovich against the Bruins. That is
Kuzmenko, yeah.
tough to see how that works. Kuzmenko, yeah.
I don't know about that one, boys. I think it's going to get a little thin here for the Flames.
Francis says it could be a bit of an adventure, and Ryan Huska knows it. He basically says, we're going to have to take a lot of pride in what we're giving up. You know, like they're aware that this is like, I don't know, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle. Who knows?
I think Kuzmenko is going to come out there and just shoot everything at the net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think he sees an opportunity to come in. Everybody's telling him this team's starving for goals. He's going to go.
Huberdeau passes, so you're going to get the puck.
And you get the...
No mentions of Huberdeau, by the way, for Team Canada.
Oh. What's he on pace for? 45 points?
Is it that low now? Jeez.
And Dallas, I didn't know they're coming in here on the second half of back-to-back. So they play in Buffalo tonight, and then they come to Toronto on the second half of back-to-back. So we'll see who they're starting tonight. Maybe they go with the backup and then get Ottinger in Toronto, or it's the other way around. So we'll see there.
Saros is Finnish, and Huberdeau is on pace for 10 goals in 81 games, 44 points.
Well, it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Also on tap, Montreal against the Washington Capitals.
Just a showcase to see which Habs are going to get traded or what? Josh Anderson?
I would go after him in a heartbeat.
You like him.
Well,
Like
listen,
retain some
I think
salary?
at times there's games where he's not as noticeable.
Mid.
No, he's better than mid. Who is that jerk that just cut me off?
To me, he's like a poor man's PL Dubois, where you're big and fast and can do a bunch of stuff, but don't all the time. He's like really.
He's got
watered
a
down
big
version of
hole
that.
he's got to dig himself out of, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, he does.
So
No good.
the active leaders for points for Finland, Barkov, Rantanen, Aho, Teravainen, Rupe Hintz, Heiskanen.
Okay, they got guys.
They're not going to be a
Saros
cup
in
of tea
net?
either. Yeah. To me, they're the team that will surprise.
Yeah. Well, there's not many options in that category.
No, I
so
just
there's
even when
favorite
even when
team
you
that
get
could
to
surprise.
even when you get to the Olympics, that's a team to me that I fear almost the most in any competition.
How about the Swedes? Nylander, Pettersson.
I'll be
I mean,
blowing the
they're
zone in the international game too.
All right. The marquee matchup, of course, tonight, the Edmonton Oilers try to make history against Vegas. We look forward to that game tonight. Our thanks to Mike Futa in the first hour and Louie Debrusk. Give me a score tonight, guys. I say 4-2 Oilers for the record.
Yeah, I was going to say 3-2 in overtime.
5-3 for my Golden Knights, boys.
All right.
Really?
Oh yeah, it ends tonight.
Enjoy the game, everybody. If there's history, we'll talk about it tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.